to just jump straight into talking about, I don't know, Star Trek?
Which Star Trek?
Probably Voyager.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, last episode we talked about general thoughts, we talked about the pilot, we talked about just things in general. I gotta introduce the show again.
Oh,
Okay.
introducing our new co-star, the air conditioning. Constant presence.
Hi. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, welcome to the Delta Quadrant. You are listening to the Janeway, the unofficial, the greatest unofficial Chicago Aural Star Trek Voyager episode guide. I am Jake S. Weissman. With me, as always, is Grant Whitaker.
Happy to be here, Jake. Thank you so much for inviting me back again.
Oh, Grant, you gotta stop crying. You just keep weeping. All day you've been weeping.
Well, I've been thinking about the second half of our Voyager Pilot episode, which is what you're listening to now, and it's a great tragedy because now we have to talk about the plot, and we can't just talk about the characters are
we
well
can
introduced.
I mean, we're gonna talk about each character as we're introduced to them.
Sure, absolutely.
Because we learn. Well, let's start at the top. A very fine location to begin.
Yes, a Star Wars title screen.
Explain.
An open. So Star Trek Voyager, the pilot episode, and maybe Deep Space Nine started with a similar thing. It's been a minute since I saw it.
I don't remember.
But Voyager starts with a title crawl describing the Maquis, the band of former Federation citizens who are now guerrilla fighters against the oppressive Cardassian Union, because their homelands were basically sold off to the Union to buy peace.
Everyone who listened to the last episode knows, definitely, because we've just been talking about this.
Yeah, well, that was the 20-second version.
Too long. Too long.
So we begin with a Maquis ship.
Who's in it?
Well, we've got the commanding officer of the ship, Chakotay.
Okay.
We've got a strange Vulcan named Tuvok, who I could swear I saw in a Starfleet uniform in promotional materials. That's really interesting.
Well, they're all wearing uniforms and promotional materials.
Is that... Oh.
Yeah, because they're... Well,
I'll be honest, I wasn't actually alive when this was airing. I just saw Tuvok in another episode.
You were born in 2002?
I was... Oh. When did this air?
97 to 01, No. There's more years than that. My phone's dead.
You know, it probably played while I was in my crib at some point. Which is why I cry uncontrollably every time we talk about Star Trek Voyager. Yeah, no, but we have Tuvok, a Vulcan, and the first Vulcan primary character since the original series, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had Spock, and then Tuvok is kind of like our... And you have Vulcans popping around every now and again, but they're always...
And Sarek comes in, and Spock comes in.
Yeah.
You're right, though. Tuvok is the first one in a long time, and Tuvok does a great job. I was watching that old episode, The Man Trap, with my mother a little while ago, and the similarities between Spock and Tuvok... Tim Russ, who plays Tuvok, picks just the perfect things to really be a phenomenal Starfleet Vulcan.
And then rounding out our named Maquis characters from the pilot, is sort of our core cast, we've got B'Elanna Torres, the half Klingon, half engineer, Wunderkind.
Hot-headed,
hot-blooded.
And Chakotay is a native. He's not from Earth.
Yeah.
He's from a different planet, but he belongs to this tribe that goes back centuries and millennia, and it's really fun when we get into Chakotay stories. He's got a tattoo on his face. And we'll hear more from all of them soon.
Soon! They're dodging fire from an Imperial Star Destroyer, which is driving them into an asteroid field.
The Badlands, I thought.
Yeah, it's the Badlands, and it's not an Imperial Star Destroyer, it's a Cardassian attack ship, but it just feels so Star... We have our first bleep of the episode.
No, I mean, I don't care if we say I want to bleep out things I don't want people to hear.
Oh.
I can handle
wow.
handle cursing.
Oh boy.
Do you think people can handle cursing on a Star Trek? Maybe we shouldn't.
I think
I've definitely cursed.
bleep it all.
Bleep it all.
Bleep it all and let God sort them out. Yeah, so we have our Maquis crew, and they make their way, kind of cold open style, into the Badlands to dodge a Cardassian patrol ship, and then they are transported via some phenomenon, and it just kind of wrecks their shit massively. Kind of, blows up consoles here and there, and then we kind of cut to, our hero. No, that's not me not remembering what happens next, Jake.
This is just kind of reflective of the wandering, meandering feel of this pilot, which the first half hour is really solid, and then by the back half, I'm just like...
It's like, and then there's a man, and he's fixing a box of electronic gizmos, and then Captain Janeway says, "Tom Paris, I need you to come on my journey."
He's on a New Zealand penal colony.
Yeah, he's
colony.
Yeah, he's in prison. He's a prisoner. He's an ex-con and a former Starfleet officer
and former Maquis sympathizer.
Mm-hmm. Or to hear him tell it, former drunk in need of money.
Yeah, and his dad's an admiral, Admiral Paris.
Yeah,
I like Tom Paris. I think I wish I were like Tom Paris, but I end up being more of a Chakotay.
Well, Tom Paris is often like the least Star Trek Starfleet officer I've ever seen, which is why he's in prison.
Yeah. He's a real rebel.
Yeah. He
doesn't give a f***. He plays for A number 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Janeway come in, and this is our first time seeing Janeway, our new captain. And she basically gives Tom the hard sell on being an advisor so that they can hunt down this Maquis ship. At this point, we kind of find out that Tuvok is a double agent on the Maquis ship because, he gets name dropped as Janeway's security officer.
Yeah.
And so, right there we've got kind of this... it's just like a note. It's just a character note. I don't know. It's not interesting or important. It's not like and then
he takes the bait. He says what's in it for me.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. He ends up on the Voyager.
Yeah.
He agrees to it.
Yeah.
He hits on the woman that's piloting the runabout to Voyager that's docked at DS9, and it's this sexual innuendo that I don't know.
It's a funny Star Trek pun that they do there. It's
Yeah.
like, do you always fly women at warp speed, Mr. Paris? Well, only when they're in visual range.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I know those words. I've seen the other shows.
It's very cheeky.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny. I laughed. I can't say that I didn't laugh.
So we follow Tom Paris to DS9, where Ensign Harry Kim,
young boy,
fresh
baby, fresh out of the academy,
ready to prove himself.
Absolutely, ready to make a fool of himself at every opportunity.
What a chucklehead!
And what better way to introduce a chucklehead than to have famous chucklehead inducer Quark.
Chucklehead inducer.
Yeah, he makes.
Hand me the hypo spray. I must give him a chucklehead inducer.
Oh boy, I can't wait to get to the doctor.
Oh, we're gonna get to the we'll get to that doctor.
Yeah.
So we haven't met those Chauncey white boys.
I can't.
That were the original Voyager crew. That you can just be like, they were awful. And if you try and imagine the show with the original crew before, spoiler alert, most of them die. Half of them die. We'll explain how.
Yeah.
But the original Doctor, the original first officer, what a bunch of jerks.
Yeah, they just...
Could you imagine just white male jerks?
Well, so the trick there, I think, that really helps us not sympathize with these people and not care when they die, which is what you want in your television program. You want the deaths to be as, like, painless for the audience as possible. You don't want them to care.
If you need to forget the characters.
Yeah. Yet you have them instantly set up against Tom Paris, because everyone on the ship and in Starfleet knows that Tom Paris is a major fuck up because of his famous dad.
Right.
So you have these guys. You have Harry Kim and Tom Paris form an instant friendship
because Tom saves Harry from wasting a lot of money from Quark.
Yeah.
And
basically
it's a pretty good scene.
Yeah. One of the better ones in the pilot, I'd say.
This is part of the episode that I really like.
Yeah, it's the DS9 send-off. It's the universe tie, and it keeps us grounded in the show.
It's very nice.
In the show's world, I should say.
Yeah.
And then
we begin.
Then we enter the actual Voyager itself,
and we get to follow. Yeah, we follow Ensign Kim in his fresh baby eyes. He's never been on the bridge before. He's never. Oh, my favorite part! I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
About the runabout. Bioneural circuitry. That woman with that delivery. Bioneural circuitry. Bioneural? What does that mean?
She bites it in the big crew explosion, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
There are a couple people I wish didn't bite it in the big crew explosion, but unfortunately they needed to really drop half this cast pretty quick. It's the latest starship, as Peach would say, the latest and greatest starship in Starfleet. It's bioneural means like there are cells in the packs.
Yeah.
So sometimes the ship can get sick. And they deal with that sometimes in these episodes.
It's interesting. It kind of reminds me of that. Remember when they had that psychic guy that didn't like being around humanoid people, but they put him into a big crab monster that was flying around in space, and he was like, "Now I'm home. Now I'm around." This is a TNG episode.
Oh, it's a TNG episode.
Is
that the one with the big creepy face?
No.
Okay.
No, that one's earlier. I do like that face. So we.
Nick Jr.
Oh, your people copulate through intercourse. Demonstrate this for me.
We will not be your rats.
I will destroy the ship.
It's customary to ask.
Sean Connery was an excellent captain.
Ooh, you got me.
Yeah. So we're on the Voyager, and we're embarking on our mission. And as Jake observed, we were introduced to a series of milquetoast.
Angry.
I just want to rag on Tom Paris for being such a colossal screw up.
And they want to click together, and they look over at Tom Paris and are warning Harry Kim about what he's doing.
Yeah, don't hang out with Tom Paris. Ugh. Tom Paris had everything. He had a silver hypo spanner in his mouth growing up, and he ruined everything for himself. He's a real chode. That's that. I think that's the closest thing to an actual full quote that we're gonna get in this episode.
That was from the first.
Yeah, the first officer says that, and then the doctor says "cha," I believe.
So true.
Yeah,
so true.
It's interesting that this is Janeway's crew before the much more compatible Chakotay comes in and sort of saves the day as a competent first officer.
Yeah.
With Patter.
Patter.
Yeah, let's get at her. As we enter into the Badlands. And everything immediately goes wrong when the ship is just... See, I don't like this. I don't like the Collector. Is that what they call him?
The Caretaker.
The Caretaker. I don't like the Caretaker as a plot device.
No.
Because TNG was kind of like ripe with these like galactic cosmic beings, these like Marvel-esque villains that just have ultimate power and exist and like drift around the cosmos and then kind of like go into like a form you're more comfortable with to talk to you. Because we usually get my two least favorite Star Trek things. We get those guys, who I do not like, Q Continuum and the rest of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
You don't like God-type characters? You don't like the Q?
I don't like how frequently that they pop up, and I don't like how they all follow the same like archetypes.
I got you.
Are they like, I don't know, was the Q Continuum something they invented retroactively to like get all of these very similar
you gotta
characters
see the pilot.
into a zoo?
No, that's why you gotta see the pilot of Encounter at Farpoint.
Okay.
Because it sets up the Q.
Yeah.
And they're in the entire series arc of the Next Generation.
I'll get that before
In a show in 1987, they started a series arc that starts with the first episode and ends with the last episode. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Beautiful writing.
Absolutely.
Although it doesn't that first one doesn't make me cry, and the back half is not as good. That DS9 pilot, I believe, to answer the question, objectively,
is the better pilot.
The best pilot out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We might have lost a lot of listeners in that first episode just by virtue of like that bold claim we didn't actually believe. So the second half of those kinds of characters, those form you're more comfortable with characters that I despise, which is what we jump into right here, is the Southern antebellum set that we jump into.
Yeah, what is that? The 30s? The like John Boy?
It's a little
Waltons, the Waltons.
It's a little To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a little like
no, but To Kill a Mockingbird was a real like that's what I'm like. This is like pie cooling on the window now. Everybody sit down.
Everything is good. If there's any people more equipped to like try to make you ignore a horrible thing happening around you, it would be the people of the American South.
Iced tea and sugar cookies.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't mind the alien abduction.
I'll have to think on that one, Greg.
They're a disarming and beautiful people with pitchforks.
They do end up having pitchforks, and there's some weird stuff going on with some of those holographs, like that want to have with both Tom Paris and Ensign Kim.
Yeah, and it's very, but I don't know, because you had like TNG episodes where they go to like California, but they also like bring in Mark Twain, and they also have like the kind of antebellum mansion.
Yeah, Mark Twain, that's a bad one.
Yeah, so it's like this like in terms of bringing back previous periods, you have the holodeck, right, and then you have. And that's the best way to do it. That's my favorite way, because they're like commodifying it. They're making it like an experience.
Okay.
They're reflecting on the past. Then you have actual time travel, which is like not great. I'm not a huge fan of it because it gets weird and screwy, and it like the message is often a little ham-fisted. And then you have the Alien Vision Quest, I scanned your brain, and the thing that you in the year 2400 or 500, whatever, would most be comfortable with is this antique Southern hospitality. And you have exceptions. You have like Sisko's like journey as a writer in Deep Space Nine, which is like a very excellent usage of alien.
I'll tell you, I don't remember what season it is, but there is a two-parter in Voyager that, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that, because they go for it. California and everything.
Oh boy.
It's I kind of love it, but you'll see. And not to mention, this movie, this series is very much a product of its time, just in the guest stars. And we'll get to each guest star as we go, but you will see some very familiar faces that...
Well, O.J. Simpson.
Dwayne
The Rock Johnson.
Andy Dick.
Oh. Very cool.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it ranges from the bottom, Andy Dick,
Yeah,
to the top, a Dwayne The Rock Johnson, if you will.
absolutely.
If
Yeah.
you can smell what what we're boldly cooking.
Excellent.
We're boldly cooking.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yes. God, I felt like a brick wall was the best response to that joke just for comedic timing, but I just want you to know that I did like it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Um,
So I do not want to take more than 5 minutes talking about the rest of this episode, but we have to introduce. There's too much because we have the Ocampa, we have the Caretaker. So
I kind of thought we were going to split the plot of this episode into 2 episodes because like a lot of
let's
stuff
do
happens. Cool.
okay, let's do it. So let's do that.
So we have,
Lucky you, lucky.
yeah. So I think we can like call it pretty soon in terms of like what I consider to be the first half, which is like this very TNG, like very the worst parts of TNG.
Yeah, why would you start the series with the worst parts of TNG?
It's like
I feel ya.
Yeah, so like, and what boggles my mind is that we're coming off of Deep Space Nine, where like the wormhole is the most important thing. I feel like there are like a million better ways to throw these ships into like into the which quadrant are they in?
Delta.
Delta. Cool. Because Alpha's Klingons, Beta's Federation.
No. Everyone is Federation. Klingons are in the Federation.
You might check that, Jake. I'm pretty sure that the Klingons have like the Empire extends outside of the Beta Quadrant.
They go into the Beta Quadrant. You're right.
Yeah.
You said the opposite.
Well, weren't the Klingons in the Alpha Quadrant?
They're in both.
Yeah.
But the Federation Earth is in the Alpha Quadrant.
Oh, cool. I had it backwards.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Now that we got that settled.
Hey, can we bleep that? Can we edit out that? Can we edit out that podcast poison?
Now we definitely have to have a part 2.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well. Basically, we dispel the illusion of the antebellum South, and then we enter a highly advanced medical facility where all you need to scan a patient, to operate on them, and to get the info you need, stick a big old needle in their belly like they got the rabies.
Yep. And so she keeps talking to these holographic antebellum people, she being Janeway,
Yeah.
trying to negotiate a way home. If you can bring us here, you can bring us back. They turn into an old man with a banjo. Has a lot of conversations with this old man with a banjo. It just doesn't work.
Unnecessarily obtuse for
And-
the sake of like keeping the plot like we need a twist later. We need to turn the audience on their head. So we're gonna have this advanced alien being explain nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he has to save the day. He has to save these people. He owes something to someone. And we don't understand exactly what's going on.
What I like is that he loves the Ocampa so much and yet completely disregards these other similarly advanced life forms, like out of hand.
It makes no sense.
It's like, oh well, we really things up for this like race. We destroyed their planet. Now we must repent, and in order to repent, we must steal ships from across the galaxy to continue our protector line. And so we're just gonna really mess things up for a couple 100,000 people that we just pull out of ship after ship after ship after ship. It's like the morality of this thing makes no sense. It's not consistent, and it just like it's a device. It's just to get them stranded.
She talks about it a lot through the series.
Oh, no kidding.
I mean, just the choice is a big deal. The choice of what she does by the end of the episode.
That's true.
To destroy the array. She's constantly questioning whether she should have done that or not. Was it worth the Ocampa? But always we rely on our Starfleet ideals and our training, and always the answer is okay.
Yeah. They really go out of their way to make the Ocampans like the least, I don't want to say worth it civilization ever, but they're like, they live 9 years There's about 50 of them, and they all live in a convention center beneath the sands.
Well, and we're supposed to be talking about the plot, and I just have no interest in talking about what happens next. All of the Ocampa, why they abducted, because what happens is the crew
Yeah.
gets beamed back to Voyager.
Yeah.
And the crew of the Maquis gets beamed back to their runabout or whatever that is.
Sure. And then there's some off-brand Klingons, so they got to ram the Maquis ship into it.
But they're missing Harry Kim and they're missing B'Elanna Torres.
That's right. Yeah.
So they can't leave. They're like, we want to go back to the Alpha Quadrant. We can't leave our people behind. So the whole back half of this, maybe we don't need to do another episode.
Yeah, we can knock this out.
Because the entire back half of this episode, like a whole 40 minutes or so, is just, we got to get Harry, we got to get B'Elanna, and then how do Harry and B'Elanna like each other? And she's like, we finally get to learn about her. Oh, I'm hot-headed, she says.
And then Kim says, yeah, you're hot-headed. Calm down. I'm reasonable. I'm the everyman.
I'm brand new. You can smell the newness on my face.
Not like that Deep Space Nine doctor, though, where he's also extremely competent.
Yeah, but I guess
I'm young and I'm moral.
Bashir is like the Kanye of Star Trek, where he talks such a big game, but also he can back it up.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take them right on the gun, because even though there are these things you don't really like, it's like the Bashir knows what he's doing.
Well, I think we can confidently say that we need to split this into 2 episodes, because we haven't even talked about Neelix, and Neelix needs an episode to himself.
Okay.
That's a joke. That's a joke. I don't want to...
I totally bought it. That was a good one.
Cool. Yeah. Then this fucking cat man named Neelix shows up.
Who has he gets a better color. He's kind of has this weird pale pallor to him. That's like really clammy and gross. He's kind of gross. In the first couple of seasons, they chill him out. The relationship that he has with Kes is an Ocampan. Kes?
The people that I just described, who live to be 9 years old and are...
She doesn't fit with the rest of the Ocampans who are happy. They believe the Caretaker is a god. He does things for a reason. They don't understand why they're taking care of B'Elanna and Harry Kim. They're the doctors. They do it for their god, who is the Caretaker, who is this array, who of a holograph. By the end of it, he's like a jelly.
He's a sludge.
He's a sludge with a mouth. He's kind of like the face.
Yeah. It's so backwards, because and they don't even really hop into it, and like the parts of Voyager that I've seen so far that I've been the least cool with, they have like these philosophical twists, but then it's like they don't jump straight at him.
Right.
So here's the situation. We have a godlike being that destroys everything for a planet, and then feels like, well, not even godlike, they're just advanced, because a bunch of them came by and then they left 2 to...
Yeah, there's one male caretaker and one female caretaker, and we don't know where the female caretaker is.
Off.
Somewhere in the Delta. Maybe.
So they... Oh, I found an interesting rock in my shoe.
Oh.
Oh, that is an interesting rock. Anyway... They go out of their way to rescue these Ocampan people, to shelter them, and to continue their culture.
Because they f***ed up the planet.
But in doing so, they kind of I don't know, maybe you could read into it like they're the opposite of the Prime Directive. Like they over meddle, and then they just continue to meddle, and then it just cascade fails. As they just utterly ruin these people.
Okay.
The Ocampans have latent psychic abilities that are pretty powerful. They're kind of I'd put them comparable to Beta Z stuff in terms of usefulness. It's a cool thing they've got going on. It's a useful ability in their evolution, and they just lose it more or less completely because of this weird sheltered lifestyle that they're living. They're living half lives, and that's kind of Janeway's point to the Collector at the end. You don't need to keep doing this thing. You don't need to keep abducting people. The Okampans are ready to live on their own, and you don't need to lord over them anymore. And then that becomes like a moot point because then off-brand Klingons show up.
The Kazon.
The Kazon.
Who were supposed to represent LA gangs.
Oh no,
That's
is that
where,
real?
That's where it came from, is that they kind of are like representative of the disfactioned early 90s LA gangs, the Crips and the Bloods and stuff.
Oh god.
The Kazon, they go out of Kazon space by second, third season, thank God.
That's like the worst thing I ever heard.
They're supposed to be like, how could you beat the Cardassian and like interesting? And it's just this very bland, awful, boring. They look like Thundercats. They all look like Lino.
Yeah, every tribe has one thing, and they trade it and they kill each other for it.
Yeah, it's that was the intent. It was not pulled off very well.
It's like, do you remember like that one episode of, I think it was TNG, where like there's that like advanced species, and then they have their like Mad Max offshoot that are like doing pirate raids.
Vaguely.
And they gotta like reconcile these things, and then Riker fucks a maid who turns out to be an assassin.
I don't usually watch the Riker fucking people episodes.
Well, it's like that. They look like those guys, but they're consistent instead of a one-off episode thing where it's just like the costume director had to do something to make them different, to make them separate. And yeah.
So where are we? We have the Ocampa, we have the Kazon. They're in conflict. The only water on the planet is with the Ocampa. The Kazon have no water, so they end up trading a lot of shit so that they can, the Starfleet officers, Janeway, etc. Yeah, you're yawning. Exactly. That's how I feel about the rest of this. I don't even want to talk about it because it's so boring. They trade water to the Kazon so they can get Harry.
But they don't even trade it because Neelix, their middleman, actually did it to save his girlfriend, and then.
But they don't know each other. We got to talk about Neelix and Kes being in a relationship.
Don't they?
Because Kes has been on the surface. Ocampa had never been on the surface. She's figured out a way. She wants to like defect from her land. She wants to live her own life.
Yeah.
Neelix is like this junkyard guy who's real lighthearted and knows the galaxy and can be their guide. So he ends up saving her and taking credit for saving her by the end of the episode, which is very strange. And she, like you said, is a telepath, but is a baby. She's like 3 years old.
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent of like 20-something. However old she is as a actress is how old she would be equivalent, but she only lives 7 to 9 years or something.
Something like that.
And people hate Kes. People hate Kes. I don't hate Kes as much as I hate Kim, but Kes is at the bottom. I mean, I'm a big Kes apologist because I feel like they did her. I feel like they never gave her a chance. She could have been cool, and they never gave her a chance. And we'll see what happens with Kes as we go on in this series of Voyager. So they trade the water. Kes decides to leave the Ocampa, right? And go with Neelix. Yeah. Neelix decides to leave his junk heap. Later on in the series, I realized they keep Neelix's ship the entire time.
Yeah.
But they never really talk about that.
They just put it in like the bay.
In the bay. And they tell Janeway that they don't want passage to anywhere. They want to work as part of the crew. And
Janeway does not dignify this with a vocal response. She gives them a nod.
Right.
And then they're on the cast forever.
And we've lost the Maquis thread. We have to talk about the Maquis thread, which by the end,
yes,
we have 20-something years before The Last Jedi. Chakotay rams his ship into the bad guy ship.
But is it before or after Independence Day where is it the president who rams a jet fighter?
No, it's Randy Quaid.
Or Randy Quaid escaping prison in The Last Detail. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. It's the sequel to The Last Detail.
Yeah.
Independence Day.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think I mentioned it earlier, but they smash the Maquis ship
mention it.
into the off-brand Klingons, and then they teleport. That's why Chakotay gets my winner of the episode. This episode,
Chakotay's your winner of the episode.
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, he like. I mean, it's more like other people get more build up than Chakotay does, but Chakotay. It's really cool when he's ramming the ship at the end. It's like it's the standout action sequence of the episode, and nobody else shines quite that bright in the first episode. You have like Tom Paris does a lot of like hot shot stuff. Where he's like,
Right.
you don't want to, flipping up his leather jacket collar. Like you don't want to be with me, Harry Kim. You don't want to be on my
Get out of
crew.
here while you can, pal.
Yeah, and then you have Janeway, who like while no pushover, kind of has to be very frustrated, like getting everything in order. Like, what, Neelix? Why are you lying? And like, okay, now we're here, and everyone needs to work together, and you're just not. Nothing's. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of herding cats for most of the episode, and I get the sense that that's not going to stop because these people like need direction, and so you know what, I can say this, tying back to what you said in the first episode, where Janeway has to tackle problems no other captain has to tackle. No other captain has a crew like this divided and this like dysfunctional.
Because they decide at the end that the Maquis is going to join. They destroyed their ship.
Yeah.
In effect, the Maquis beam onto Voyager, and they all become one crew. And Chakotay, Tom Paris, becomes a lieutenant. He's no longer in trouble.
Yeah.
He is officially at the helm, the greatest pilot in the universe, going to get them back home.
Yeah.
And Chakotay becomes first mate.
Yeah, they sort of do a Brady Bunch with their crews. Yeah. And so...
And he admits, he says, she's the captain. That's what's up.
Yeah.
And they have enough training, Starfleet training, and they'll all get home together because it makes the most sense.
Yeah. So here are the things...
Oh, I need to tell you my winner, though.
Oh, thank you.
My winner
Please do.
is the Doctor.
We didn't even talk about...
That's why I'm going to make him I'm going to talk about him. He's my winner because this episode begins one of the more interesting arcs in Star Trek Voyager for me. They spend a lot of time talking about the Doctor. He is a hologram.
Yeah.
And these emergency medical holograms are not made for long-term use.
Yeah.
And the Doctor, as we said before, got iced in the array, as did the first mate. So Chakotay just kind of could slip right in there instead of having to promote within. And we can keep Tuvok on tactical, which is probably a good idea.
Yeah. He does some stuff, even in
does
those first couple episodes.
Right. So the Doctor, we really learn what they can do to stretch the program.
Yeah.
And he learns what it is to exist. He's basically a brand new life form, and that's how they treat the Doctor in Voyager, as a brand new life form. Sorry, am I boring you?
Oh no. The trick here. It's a boring episode.
I'm with you.
Yeah, like so I want to talk about the Doctor. I wish we had been talking about the Doctor for like 20 straight minutes. All of these characters I like.
Yeah.
But the plot of the episode is just so dull. It's like, what were we trying to accomplish here? What were the most important parts? We gotta cut down the crew sizes so that
we gotta marry the crews.
Yeah. So, you have to remove like you can't have a complete Federation crew. They need the Maquis,
right,
for it to work. So both sides need each other. The Maquis don't have a ship, and the Voyager crew is only half a crew. So in order for the whole ship to function, they need all of these people working together. It's like plot point number 1 we got to get done. We got to get them way stranded out in the middle of the
Delta.
Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
and those are like that's the premise right there. They're coming home, and they're a ragtag crew. Those are like this is what makes it stand out from TNG as like an exploration series.
Right. They're not the best of the best, but they kind of become. They have the potential to be the best of the best.
Absolutely.
And they're the first to do what they're doing. Well, as far as we know, there may be tons of ships lost in many quadrants that have gone MIA, and they talk about that. And sometimes ships pop up out of temporal space and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that'll play out.
So was there a more elegant solution to doing all of these things that could have been written? Yeah.
Make it an hour-long episode instead of a 2-hour-long episode?
Make it an hour-long episode. Don't have the Ocampan Festival. Don't have the Collector.
Yeah, they needed to get like Cass and Neelix on there. It's just a terrible.
It was like a I don't know. You know what you could have had like an anomaly, right? You could have just had a space-time anomaly.
She needs that choice though. It's a really big part. Like she needs to make the choice to destroy the array. Which we didn't. Did we talk? Well, like we sort of talked about that. That's how they destroy the array, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Is with Chakotay. It's she, because if they don't destroy the array, then the Kazon will get it and use it to destroy the Ocampa.
Yeah.
And so it's either let's use this array to go home and leave it there for the Ocampa to all die, or we destroy this array because we're Starfleet and figure out another way home.
Yeah.
And she has to make that choice, and she's constantly going back to that choice. Maybe I'm making too much of an emphasis on this.
Well, we won't know until we get there.
Yeah. Until we get to the last episode when you're like, Jake, you up, dude.
Hey, Jake. Yeah, she doesn't even care that she did that, and the Ocampans were the Q continuum all along.
Yeah, we never see an Ocampa aside from Cass ever like again.
Yeah. Well, they're. It's not about the importance of the individual like species, because all life is important.
Yeah.
To a Starfleet officer.
So we can unanimously agree that the loser of this episode is the plot.
Yeah, easy.
Okay.
Easy.
Well, I think that wraps up the pilot episode. We gave you a little beefy episode for this pilot because it was a beefy pilot. And maybe for the two-parters, we'll go for these 45-minute guys.
It makes the most sense.
I agree.
But don't expect this this level of like depth.
Yeah, we'll see. I have no idea what's going to come because the Delta Quadrant is so vast and unknown.
Absolutely.
Grant, will you sign off your name?
Sure. This has been Grant Whitaker talking to you about I hope, the most boring episode of Voyager ever made.
And I am Jake S. Weissman. Thank you for listening. See you in the Delta Quadrant.